Online at consumerqb.com.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. We got attorney Milly Athanason coming on the show here in just a moment. I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Satellite Phone Store, sat123.com/REQB. Satellite Phone Store. What would you do if your power went out? You have no cell phones, the cell phone towers go down. Maybe it's some type of an attack, or maybe it's just a natural occurrence. Sunburst, different things happen. What are you doing to protect yourself, protect your family? Have that communication available. sat123.com/REQB, like real estate quarterback. sat123.com/RE, like real estate, QB, like quarterback. So please use that URL if you are thinking about getting a satellite phone, and let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. I love my sat phone, by the way. It's a really cool device. All right, a couple of hot listings here for this segment. We've got a property at 6441 4th Palm Point in St. Pete Beach. This is a beautiful beach property, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2280 square feet, and you are looking at the stunning views of the Boca Ciega Bay. Bring your boat, bring your jet skis, enjoy that Florida lifestyle to the fullest. You have a spacious kitchen here for entertaining, opens up to the dining room. You have a fireplace as well, cozy wood-burning fireplace, barrel tile roof, 5 sets of hurricane-rated windows. And you also have a beautiful home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2280 square feet, 6441 4th Palm Point, St. Pete Beach. Open house is going on as well. 1919 West Lemon Street. This one's in Hyde Park. Beautiful 2-bedroom, 1-bath property here. Single-family home in bungalow at North Hyde Park. 1919 West Lemon Street in Tampa. Almost 1,400 square feet of heated living space. You have hardwood flooring, tankless water heater, newer AC. You have great location close to UT, University of Tampa, and current tenant in place as well. So you have built-in income if you'd like to use that. 2-car garage, electric door opener. You can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com. Check out PlatinumCoastalElite.com.
Sun is shining, the weather is sweet.
All right, going to the phone lines here. We got attorney Milly Athanason back on the show. Milly, welcome back.
Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, and tell us a little bit more about what's happening in your world, Milly.
Well, I thought today we might talk a little bit about advanced directives. This is kind of coming into under the auspices of the state planning type of thing, but it has to do with your person, not so much as to when you're passed away and we're trying to disseminate your assets and stuff. This is more while you're alive, and you may need some assistance because you can't make decisions for yourself, or you're not able to do certain things for yourself. And I wanted to be able to discuss what those 4 items are and how they work, so that there's no confusion because there's a lot of confusion between the difference between a living will and a regular will and things like that. So I kind of wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, I like that. What are the differences there?
So what we can start out with a living will. If anybody remembers the Terry Schiavo case out there, that was a situation where the lady, unfortunately, is what they call brain dead or in a vegetative state, persistent, and the doctor said that she was going to be in this persistent state, and the parents wanted to keep her alive, and the husband wanted to basically turn off the life support machines, and the court system had to get involved and ruled eventually that the machines could be turned off. But had Ms. Schiavo had a living will or a document that basically states that if you're in a persistent vegetative state or you're in a critically terminal situation, and there are 2 doctors certified that you're not going to be coming back from this terminally ill vegetative type or persistent state that you're in, that you're giving permission for somebody to basically sign the paperwork so that the life support machines can be turned off, and you're not just sitting there ad nauseum waiting for a court to decide whether or not life support should be shut off, and it prevents arguments between family members. So this form is specifically generated for that purpose. And although it's not a pleasant thing to talk about by all means, I mean, it's something that unfortunately we deal with on a regular basis, because we're all going to die in some manner. We don't know how that is or when that is, but we know we're going to face that unfortunate ending, right?
Yep.
So trying to make some plans for it is important. There's also something called a designation of healthcare surrogate, which is basically a limited power of attorney that applies specifically to healthcare. And where it applies is when you're not in a position to make medical decisions for yourself. For example, you may have some dementia. You may be in a coma. You may be knocked out, and you're just in an emergency situation. You can't make any decisions whether you need to have your spleen removed or whether, some other or emergency type procedure needs to be performed. You have a form where you can designate somebody to make those calls for you. And then once it's on file with your doctor and with the hospital, they will have to try to reach out to that party, whoever you designate. And typically when we do them, we list a person and then we also list an alternate so that if one person can't be reached, another person can be contacted to make those kind of emergency calls for you. And it also allows that person to get your medical records so that if you wanted to take them to another physician to get a second opinion, that can be done too. So I think that that's a really important document that people need. People ask a lot about a durable power of attorney and what that is. And that's a document where it's a more expansive power of attorney that allows that person that you designate as your agent or attorney, in fact, to stand in your shoes and basically do anything that you can do. So they can buy and sell property on your behalf. They can open and close bank accounts, write checks on your accounts for you, to pay your bills, to make sure your light bill is being paid while you're incapacitated. They can apply for government benefits for you and implement insurance benefits for you. So it allows this person that you designate to do quite a bit of things on your behalf. And this way, if you do become incapacitated, you do have a document. Now, with any of these documents, you can always revoke them at any time. So let's just say you let's say you did a designation of healthcare surrogate and you changed your mind. You don't want cousin Sue to be your agent for that purpose. You can designate and do another one. As long as you turn it into the hospital and healthcare providers, they will be honored. So that's a good thing. And then the last document that's really a good advance directive is a designation of pre-need guardian, so that if you are ever declared to be incompetent and can't manage your own affairs and the court system designates that you have to be placed in a guardianship situation, that you've designated somebody as your pre-need guardian that the court is to appoint, as opposed to using one of the court-appointed guardians on the list. Because, as you know, there have been problems with those individuals that popped up in the news from time to time. So it allows you to, ahead of time, designate someone in the rare event that you may need that. So those are just some advanced directives that I thought would be really, really helpful for people to know about, especially in today's world when families are living so far apart. It used to be in the old days where families were all near each other, but that really isn't the case anymore.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We're talking with attorney Milly Athanason here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, and we're talking about these life-saving documents in many cases, advanced medical directives, healthcare surrogates, durable power of attorney. You have different options there, and I think it's one of those things, Milly, where we don't plan enough in this area of life, and unfortunately, it's one of those areas that's going to affect all of us. And the better planning that you have, I mean, we've seen people in the real estate business too, with my wife and I owning a Keller Williams team. You have these different scenarios that play out where people pass, and then now you have a mess. You have a pile of coat hangers coming into play in terms of the title to the property and things of that nature.
Oh, yeah. And this is where, we get involved as attorneys. We see these problems and we have to contend with them. And a lot of times, if the people had planned ahead of time and had these forms in place, there wouldn't be a big cleanup project on the back end. So it's definitely helpful to do a little bit of pre-planning. And again, I know that it's not pleasant. Nobody comes into my office and says, I am just so excited about doing some estate planning documents. That doesn't happen,
Yeah.
And no one likes to deal with it. But unfortunately, we're all going to die. I mean, we are living longer, which is wonderful with the advancements in medical technology. But at the same token, I think it imposes on us more of a duty to really make sure that we prepare for our life ending and make sure that it runs smoothly as possible, because why would you want to further torture and hurt your loved ones that you really want to protect? You know what I'm saying? So I think
exactly.
because we see a lot of that where people don't prepare, and you've got relatives arguing with one another. They're not talking to each other anymore because this one thought they should get this, they should get that, whatever. And it really turns into a three-ring circus, and it's so unnecessary if it can be pre-planned and doled out ahead of time so that you don't have these kinds of problems.
Right, yeah. Failing to plan, planning to fail. That's what happens. Attorney Milly Athanason here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. She's a local attorney. Offices right here in Tampa Bay. Consultations. You can reach out to the show hotline. We'll put you in touch. 727-263-3707. Just call or text the show hotline. 727-263-3707. 263-3707. Call the hotline, off-air number, call or text. And we're going to take a quick break. More with attorney Milly Athanason when we come back. Also, a little bit more on these advanced medical directives, a little family law as well. The divorce situation out there in the country is over 50% now. We're going to talk strategy with attorney Milly Athanason here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. ConsumerQB.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at ConsumerQB.com.
Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. They offer the very best nationwide coverage on 4G and 5G LTE networks and exceptional 100% US-based customer support. Patriot Mobile offers discounts for veterans and first responders, NRA members, and families with multiple lines. Learn more at patriotmobile.com/consumerqb. That's patriotmobile.com/consumerqb. Or if you'd like to give us a call, you can reach out at 727-263-3707. That's 727-263-3707. And we'd be happy to tell you more about Patriot Mobile. Selling commercial, vacant land, or residential properties? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. You can reach me at 727-263-3707. Call or text 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. We're powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty, always helping our sellers sell faster for more money. We got over 60 current listings here in Tampa Bay, vacant land, residential, commercial properties, and we feature all of our listings live on air on our daily syndicated talk show that's seen and heard by thousands of people every day, not only throughout the state of Florida, but of course internationally through our syndication on Binge Networks, Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and more. 860 The Answer, 4 o'clock drive time, weekend show, Sunday mornings on 102.5 The Bone. Maximum exposure helps you sell faster for more money. 2156 Masters Court right here in Dunedin, Florida. This one is a beautiful golf cart community, completely remodeled in-unit condo, 3 bedrooms, 3 bath, 20 square foot condo. Right here in Dunedin, Florida, Tampa Bay, Palm Harbor, Dunedin area, one of the hottest areas in all of Tampa Bay, Clearwater. You know, this is a really nice area. You're just a quarter of a mile from the Pinellas Trail, so you could Pinellas Trail. You could bike down the trail there. Community pool. You have the golf club. You have clubhouse, restaurant, lounge, Clearwater Beach, Honeymoon Island, only 5 minutes away. 2156 Masters Court, Dunedin, Florida. Another one of our hot listings from the Platinum MVP team. 4501 Garnett Drive, right here in Pasco County. This one is in Gulf Harbors, 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, 2215 square feet. You have water frontage on the canal. Another waterfront listing from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. You have a waterfront clubhouse, heated pool, tennis courts, private community boat ramp, plenty of parking, minutes to local shopping, restaurants, downtown Newport Richey, and more. Gulf Harbors, great opportunity to own real estate. And you can see all of our real estate properties on our website at platinumcoastalelite.com. Check out platinumcoastalelite.com.
This is God's country.
All right, we got attorney Milly Athanason on the line. Before we do, I just want to mention I saw this interesting post about Dr. Phil. We've all heard of Dr. Phil. You've probably seen one of his shows at one point, but he's becoming more and more speaking out about what's going on in the country right now. And I think we've had this unbelievable amount of illegal immigration, people pouring over our borders. And here's an interesting quote from Dr. Phil. He says, "We have the right to know that, to control who's coming in this country. As I said, you don't reward bad behavior. You don't subsidize things you don't want to see more of." So he's talking about, the influx of the illegals under the Biden administration. You also have in New York now, we're giving out these prepaid cards, or however they're giving the money to the illegals, prioritizing illegals over the Americans. And it's interesting, if you're looking at our TV show screen, you look at the government funds just being poured into illegals. They're getting fat and happy as American citizens are struggling. You have veterans on the street. You have veterans fighting to get their medical coverage. I hear stories about it all the time. People call into our hotline and voice those concerns. Reach out. I'd love to hear your opinion. 727-263-3707. Just call the hotline. And also, if you'd like to reach out and get in contact with any of our attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors, self-defense experts, home service providers, 727-263-3707. And we'll put you right in touch with all of our expert contributors, anyone that you want to talk to. All right, let's go back to the phone line. So, attorney Milly Athanason back on the show. Now, Milly, you practice multiple areas of law, estate planning. You also do family and divorce law. What's happening in the family space?
Well, one of the things that I see a lot of when people come to the office for or on the Zoom platform for a consultation in family law, many people don't really know what's going on financially in their own household. And that's kind of a concerning situation nowadays. I think that, you need to familiarize yourself with the financial goings-ons, if you will, of how your household runs, what the monthly expenses are, where your money is going, how bills are being paid, and so forth. Because I see this a lot with people that just don't really have a clue as to their financial picture or how money is spent or where money is saved. And then, there is a requirement, obviously, when you file for divorce of something called mandatory disclosure, where each party has a duty to disclose all of the assets, income, earnings, debts, bills. All of that has to be disclosed in a divorce case. But as you know, when people are divorcing, trust is certainly not at its peak.
Right.
In fact, it's the opposite. Everybody's, wrapped up in distrust. So the situation becomes, when you don't know what your financial picture looks like, it's hard sometimes for people to predict or understand what their needs are going forward or what they're going to be in the future as the family separates and you're going from one unified household into two separate households. And I think you need to have a clear understanding of what your financial obligations are, because if you're making another household that's just your household, obviously when we're looking at things such as alimony, we need to know what your expenses will be and what you're going to need to live, what your lifestyle is, what you normally spend money on, and vice versa. Even if you're defending an alimony claim, you need to know, okay, what are the reasonable expenses that go on every month, or is this an inflated expense? And if people don't know the financial makeup of their household, it makes it a little bit harder to do that. I always tell people, if you're contemplating divorce, make sure that you make copies of all of the financial documents that you all have in your household that you don't have access to online. And even if you have access to them online, make sure you download them and save them in a file of your own that the other party doesn't have access to, because as you know, when people are divorcing, magically all the passwords change and nobody can get into anything. So it's certainly something that you want to have, so that you have this information that you can share with your attorney, so that you can discuss these financial issues intelligently, and it will allow you to make better decisions for your own life. Because remember, we as lawyers are only as good as the information that we have in our arsenal. So if you're unable to provide us with the information as the client, and we can't or have difficulty getting certain pieces of information from the other side, then it makes it a little bit more difficult to be able to properly advise you. Whereas when we have a clear financial picture, it's a lot easier to be able to render advice to the client for their unique situation going forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And it all comes down to that financial worksheet. You're going to have a financial worksheet that you fill out.
Yep.
That's going to break down the differences there. Can you talk a little bit about that, Milly?
Sure. Everybody in a divorce case has to file what's called the financial affidavit. And there's two types. There's one, it's called a short form, that's utilized for people that make $50,000 and under yearly. And if you make over $50,000, you fill out what's called the long form financial affidavit. And therein, it makes you break down your expenses and your income on a monthly basis. And then it also makes you break down like all of the bills, like credit card bills and stuff that you have. It also has a section where you list all of your assets, and you put down what you believe the value is, and you put down whether you believe they're marital or non-marital assets. And then there's also a similar section for all the liabilities that are owed, whether that's mortgages or auto loans or what have you. And then we add those up, and we take your assets and your liabilities, and then we determine what your net worth is. And we also look very heavily at what the income is, because obviously the income is what we utilize to dictate what child support will be. And then the expenses are used in conjunction with the income in order to make alimony determination. And then also, too, when we get these income levels and expenditure levels, we always look in the disclosure for the documentation that supports those numbers that are placed on the financial affidavit. So, and a lot of people say, well, I only pay this bill, every 6 months. So what do I do? And I always tell people, well, you amortize it and you divide it by 6, and that's what it comes or breaks down to on a monthly basis. And this will give us, again, a clear picture, hopefully, as to what your needs are on a monthly basis. The long form financial affidavit has a lot more lines, if you will, for different types of expenses as opposed to the short form, which tends to consolidate them more. So that, and it makes you, I think it forces you, if you've never done it before, it's a great exercise in budgeting, because it kind of breaks down what your financial picture looks like and what you need on a monthly basis to make two ends meet.
That's our time. That's our time for today. Milly Athanason, how do you want to connect with you?
Okay, at athanasonlaw.com and at 1-833-ASK-MILLY or 376-9100.
All right, 833-ASK-MILLY, 833-ASK-MILLY. Milly Athanason, thank you so much. Appreciate you calling in.
All right. Thank you so much.
Please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. We'll see you next time on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next...